Wait, they have to wait for the game.
I'm nervous about it.
You're still thinking the
Sound just in case I think I have it. Red, yellow. You need it for green.
We're red.
You guys are red. But I'll just set that there.
Which one is the? You can adjust it out.
Five or six.
Second time, we were worse. That's the Mom! Can you get Mom?
You're sitting out. I still.
All right.
Sister Tracy's gonna be right back. Is that the way that it?
Yep, Dickinson 1 on the red, Dickinson 2 on the yellow. Yep.
What's my batting percentage? Do you have a power triple? You guys ready?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I'm not ready. I am, but I'm not. But I am.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
All right.
Might stay.
Budget. Budget check. I have this plugged into the piano mic. Did you mute that?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Right there. See it? The red mute at the top of the piano. It's all the way to the left.
All right, one more time.
Red, 1.
Perfect.
Sorry.
You're good. All right. Quiz number 1 is open. Question number 1 is a quotation question worth 10 points. Question. Quote Matthew chapter 4, verse 11.
Red, 2.
Then the devil leaveth him, and behold, angels came and ministered unto him.
That is correct. Question number 2 is a 10-point question. Question. Matthew chapter 4, verse 6 mentions the son of whom?
Red, 1.
God,
That is correct. Question number 3 is a 10-point question. Question. Luke chapter 2, verse 5 says to be what?
Yellow, 3.
to be great with child.
That is incorrect.
Time.
Question number 4 is a 10-point question. Question. What may be made manifest according to John chapter 3, verse 21?
Yellow, 1.
His deeds.
That is correct. Question number 5 is a 10-point question. Question. Luke chapter 2, verse 51 names what geographical location?
Time.
Question number 6 is a 10-point question. Luke chapter 1 verse 30 says, "Who said unto her?"
Red, 1.
The angel.
That is correct. Question number 7 is a quotation question worth 20 points. Quote Matthew chapter 2 verse 2.
Yellow, 1.
Saying, "Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east and are come to worship him."
That is correct. Question number 8 is a 2-part question worth 20 points. John chapter 2 verse 8 says, "Draw out when."
Red, 1.
Interruption.
And bear unto who? Draw it now and bear unto the governor of the feast.
That is correct. Question number 9 is a 20-point question. Jesus, according to John chapter 1 verse 47, saith of him.
Yellow, 1.
Interruption.
What? Thou art Simon the son of Jonah. Thou shalt be called Cephas, which is by interpretation a stone.
Time.
That is incorrect. This interrupted question will be reread to the red team without interruption. Question. Jesus, according to John chapter 1 verse 47, saith of him what?
Red, 1.
Behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom is no guile.
That is correct. Question number 10 is a 2-part question worth 20 points. Out of thee, according to Matthew chapter 2 verse 6, shall come.
Yellow, 1.
Interruption.
What?
Time.
That is incorrect. This interrupted question will be reread to the red team without interruption. Question. Out of thee, according to Matthew chapter 2 verse 6, shall come whom that shall rule whom?
Red, 2.
For out of thee shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel.
That is correct. Timeout. Yellow, 60 seconds.
Tied.
Time in. Question number 11 is a 20-point question. Locate this verse. Now Jacob's.
Red, 1.
Interruption. Tied.
That is incorrect. This interrupted question will be reread to the yellow team without interruption. Question. Locate this verse. Now Jacob's well was there. Jesus, therefore, being wearied with his journey, sat thus on the well, and it was about the 6th hour.
Tied.
Question number 12 is a 20-point question. According to Luke chapter 1, verse 35, the angel answered and said unto her, what?
Yellow, 1.
The Holy Ghost shall come upon thee, and the power of the highest shall overshadow thee. Therefore also that holy thing which shall be born of thee shall be called the Son of God.
That is correct. Question number 13 is a quotation completion question worth 30 points question. But while he...
Yellow, 1.
Interruption.
But while he thought on these things, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a dream, saying, Joseph, thou son of David, fear not to take unto thee Mary thy wife, for that which is conceived in her is of the Holy Ghost.
That is correct. Question number 14 is a 2-part cross-reference question worth 30 points question. Which verse contains the phrase, the same country, and which verse contains the phrase, their own country?
Yellow, 1.
Luke 2:8, Matthew 2:12.
That is correct. Question number 15 is a 3-part question worth 30 points question. According to John chapter 3, verse 1, there was a man of what, named what, a ruler.
Red, 1.
Interruption.
Of what? In those days came John the Baptist preaching in the wilderness of Judea.
That is incorrect. This interrupted question will be reread to the yellow team without interruption. Question. According to John chapter 3, verse 1, there was a man of what, named what, a ruler of whom?
Yellow, 1.
There was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus, a ruler of the Jews.
That is correct. And Bruno is quizzed out. This quiz is closed. You may relax.
Right? Right. 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 That is really hard. Right. Either way, it's one of us. Yeah. It's good practice.
The results of the last quiz are as follows. Dickinson 2 was the winning team. Bruno Enriquez was the highest scoring quizzer with 130 points. And Whitney Simons was the second highest scoring individual with 35 points. We can have Dickinson 2 on the red and Fargo 1 on the yellow.
Eric just ran over.
Yeah, well, they're having sound issues. Are you in there?
Yeah. I'm not doing anything, but I'm in there.
Are you keeping score over there, Cole? Actually, that won't be right next week. Yeah. Neither will I. So Eric will be in charge of the one.
Keep going. Keep going.
In a little bit.
Okay.
No.
We'll just,
When I have to.
I'll be right back then.
Yeah, there's like only 10 years. He has a food. That's incorrect. I'm having sound issues in the other. That's where it is.
All right. Thank you for your patience. Quiz number 2 is open. Actually, let's do a buzzer check. Buzzer check.
Red 2.
All right, one more time.
Red 2. Red.
That's good, that's good.
Red 2. Red 2. Red 2.
Bring the sound issues back with you.
Time.
Red 2. Red 2.
Who did that? All right, go for it.
Okay, fingers off buzzers.
Let's try a different tab. All right, we're gonna take like a 10-minute break to try to figure this out.
Are we allowed to move around, buddy?
What?
This happened before. I think this is what happened to one of the other guys. Brand new. And I took it to National Geographic. I'm trying to remember. We have 2 buzzers.
Well,
If it doesn't work, you can switch out the module. Can we try?
It was like, had to do with the box, ours.
Yeah, it sounds like a short in your box.
Try the cord first. Try that individual buzzer first. If it's not there.
What?
Yeah, it's
Try
only
replacing the buzzer
yeah.
first.
No, they wanted to.
The guess is it's not, it's the box.
It's not, I don't think it is because both ran into
Megan's playing for when.
I'll go grab our buzzer. Yep.
Red 2 just going on.
Every time we clear it, it would just go off.
Probably a short set.
It's a brand new buzzer. We bought them last year when we went there.
Must have hired two manufacturers from Bangladesh.
He makes all of it himself. Yeah, Dickinson does.
Well, I think
One and
Hey, Red,
Yeah, it does.
I'm gonna start this quiz and see if it does it.
Just North Dakota.
What South Dakota was supposed to
Do it. You have a screwdriver?
No, in dollars.
Yeah, the sound does sound. Okay.
You ready? 1 second.
Just a second, no, don't buzz it yet.
So,
You're just with me. Megan's playing with her for a wedding.
Okay, try red 3. Try red 3, don't try those ones. Okay, let me reset it. We're not recording.
Oh,
It's buzzing in right away. It's buzzing in right away too.
so you plug it in, yeah. That's what ours is.
Try it now. Try it now, yeah, see what's the buzzer and sound.
Jacob generation.
First off, you need yellow.
But they write the questions. The staff reads all the questions.
No, it's buzzing in by itself without the logo.
Yeah, Legacy was a standard. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Eric. So blue cord is on the bottom. Blue cord is 3.
no, I'm saying, do we know which buzzer is which?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then Legacy, or like some, like.
Red might be off.
You know, the old photo used to be so much easier.
I think he did.
Oh, well, watch your mic's flipping over.
Set the mic right on top of the box.
Oh, isn't it good, buddy?
No,
Yeah, you can help with grandpa. You helping grandpa?
Go for like what, 20 minutes, not even?
Come to think of it, Matt, it was this buzzer that was messing up. It could just be here.
Well, my computer was freezing last tournament.
Well, no, we were resetting the buzzer. Oh, we were? It was, we thought it was, I thought it maybe was.
It's the exact same thing. When we bought two buzzers, we were practicing with one.
Then you get them things together to
Same thing. I took
I didn't even touch it. Oh, you did. Well, that's why
I'm glad you guys have it.
Yeah.
one more. This one doesn't. We still have
Yeah, let's hope we don't have to.
Let's hope that's true.
Okay, I'm gonna set ours at
Alright. Yeah, there's static. Do you want to try it? Okay, reset the buzzer. Is that one? Okay. Then try 2. Perfect. Where's that?
Yellow 1. Yellow 2. Yellow.
Perfect. Alright, and we actually had, let's just do quiz.
Yeah, let's just go. Well, no. Should we just call it, or should we just go back to what we did in history?
I think we can do this.
Since they're ready. Well, kind of ready.
How about I forgot that it was 2 parts.
I do. I forgot to put mine with them up at all this year.
The little backgrounds, the ones that carries out for just people. Yeah, if you have some.
There's a bunch of them. And where'd my tape go?
All right, if we can get Dickinson 2 on the red and Fargo 1 on the yellow.
I set the chairs in front of there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that's,
No,
I mean, if you want to press it, yeah.
You have a screwdriver?
I don't. I have a knife.
All right. Buzzer check.
Are you kidding me? It happened again?
Buzzer check.
Red 2.
Don't hit red 2. Everybody else but red 2.
Red.
Did you hit yellow 2?
Did you restart the program? Or-
Yeah. All right. Quiz number 2 is open. Question number 1 is a 10-point question. In those days, according to Matthew chapter 3, verse 1, came...
Yellow 1. Interruption.
John the Baptist.
That is correct. Question number 2 is a 10-point question. When does John chapter 2, verse 12 say he went down to...
Red 1. Interruption.
Capernaum. After this,
That is correct. Question number 3 is a 10-point question. John chapter 2, verse 13 says, what was at hand?
Yellow 2.
Jews Passover.
That is correct. Question number 4 is a 10-point question. Locate this verse. When they saw...
Yellow 2. Interruption.
When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. Matthew 2:10.
That is correct. Question number 5 is a 10-point question. John chapter 4, verse 10 mentions the gift of whom?
Yellow 2.
Of God.
That is correct. Question number 6 is a 10-point question. Matthew chapter 3, verse 14 says, I have what?
Yellow 2.
Need to be baptized of thee.
That is correct. Question number 7 is a 20-point question. Locate this verse and the...
Yellow 1. Interruption.
And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. John chapter 1, verse 14.
That is correct. Question number 8 is a 20-point question. John chapter 1, verse 12 states to become...
Red 1. Interruption.
What? The sons of God?
That is correct. Question number 9 is a 2-part question worth 20 points. John chapter 3, verse 8 records what bloweth...
Yellow 1. Interruption.
Bloweth where? The wind bloweth where it listeth?
That is correct. Question number 10 is a 20-point question. Parents,
Yellow 1. Interruption.
Locate the verses study that contains this information.
Time.
That is incorrect. This interrupted question will be reread to the red team without interruption question. Parents, locate the only verse of study that contains this word.
Time.
Question number 11 is a quotation completion question or a 20 points question. When Herod All right, we had a tie. Red one and yellow one have tied. We're going to void and replace the question. Question number 11 is a quotation completion question or a 20 points question. For God.
Red 1. Interruption.
For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life.
That is incorrect. This interrupted question will be reread to the yellow team without interruption question. For God sent not his.
Yellow 1.
For God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved.
That is correct. Question number 12 is a two-part question or a 20 points question. Luke chapter 1 verse 31 says, "Thou shalt."
Yellow 1. Interruption.
Thou shalt conceive in what? Bring forth what? And behold, thou shalt conceive in thy womb and bring forth a son.
Time.
That is correct. Question. Timeout, yellow, 60 seconds.
Time.
Time in. Question number 13 is a quotation question or a 30 points question. Quote verse 4 of Luke chapter 2.
Red 2.
Time.
That is incorrect. Question number 14 is a two-part cross-reference question worth 30 points. Question. Luke chapter 1 verse 27 says espouse to whom, and Matthew chapter 1 verse 18 says espouse to whom.
Red, 1.
Espoused to men. Espoused to Joseph. A virgin espoused to a man. His name is Joseph.
That is
Time.
correct. Question number 15 is a four-part question worth 30 points. Question. According to John chapter 1 verse 3, what were made by whom?
Red, 3. Interruption.
All things were made by him. That was not anything made that's made.
That is incorrect. This interrupted question will be reread to the yellow team without interruption. Question. According to John chapter 1 verse 3, what were made by whom, and without whom was not what?
Time.
This quiz is closed. You may relax.
You did. It says man was right. You just didn't say yeah.
I won the bet, but he has to give it to me tomorrow.
You have to give him $5.
For the results of the last quiz, we had Bruno with 50 points and Charles with 80 points. All right, can we get Fargo 2 on the red and Bismarck 1 on the yellow? All right, buzzer check.
Yellow, 2.
All right. Quiz number 3 is open. Question number 1 is a 10-point question. Matthew chapter 1 verse 19 calls Joseph.
Yellow 3. Interruption.
Joseph did what? Put away privily?
That is incorrect. This interrupted question will be reread to the red team without interruption. Question. Matthew chapter 1 verse 19 calls Joseph her what?
Red 2.
Her husband?
That is correct. Question number 2 is a 10-point question. John chapter 2 verse 13 states Jesus went.
Red 1. Interruption.
Up where? To Jerusalem?
That is correct. Question number 3 is a 10-point question. Luke chapter 1 verse 32 records, who shall give unto...
Yellow 3. Interruption.
Who shall give to him the throne of his father David? The Lord God should go unto the throne of his father David?
That is correct. And just make sure when you're talking to the mic, you're straight on. All right, perfect. Question number 4 is a quotation question worth 10 points. Question. Quote John chapter 3 verse 1.
Yellow 3.
The man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus, a ruler of the Jews?
That is correct. Question number 5 is a 10-point question. Who does Matthew chapter 2 verse 7 say had privily called the wise?
Red 2. Interruption.
Privily called the wise men? Then Herod?
That is correct. Question number 6 is a 10-point question. Luke chapter 1 verse 29 says troubled at what?
Red 2.
Insane?
That is correct. Question number 7 is a quotation question worth 20 points. Quote verse 49 of Luke chapter 2.
Red 1.
And he said unto them, how is it that ye sought me? Wist ye not that I must be about my Father's business?
That is correct. Question number 8 is a 20-point question. As recorded in Luke chapter 2 verse 2, this taxi...
Red 1. Interruption.
Was first made when? When Cyrenius was governor of Syria?
That is correct. Question number 2 is a 2-part question worth 20 points. John chapter 1 verse 42 says, thou shalt be...
Yellow 3. Interruption.
Thou shalt be called whom? Cephas?
Time.
That is incorrect. This interrupted question will be reread to the red team without interruption. Question. John chapter 1 verse 42 says, thou shalt be called what, which is by interpretation what?
Red 2.
Thou shalt be called Cephas, which is by interpretation a stone.
That is correct. Question number 10 is a 20-point question. Luke chapter 2, verse 14 says, on earth.
Red 1. Interruption.
Goodwill toward whom? Men?
That is incorrect. This interrupted question will be reread to the yellow team without interruption question. Luke chapter 2, verse 14 says, on earth what?
Yellow 3.
Peace, goodwill toward men.
That is correct. Question number 11 is a two-part question worth 20 points question. Who, according to John chapter 3, verse 10, answered and said unto them what?
Yellow 3.
Time.
That is incorrect. Question number 12 is a 20-point question. Locate this verse and his disciples.
Red 1. Interruption.
And his disciples remembered that it was written, the zeal of thine house hath eaten me up. John chapter 2, verse 17.
That is correct.
Time out, please.
Timeout red, 60 seconds.
Time.
In that one, underneath that big right there.
just want to do a quick teaching point. It appears I misread question 11. I can no longer go back and go ahead and replace it. But if that is the case and we rule it incorrect based on a misreading of my own, you can contest that and bring it up, and we'll go ahead and replace it. So just point that out. Question number 13. Time in. Question number 13 is a three-part question worth 30 points. Question. John chapter 1 verse 6 refers to a man sent from whom?
Red 1. Interruption.
Whose name was what? There was a man sent from God, his name was John?
That is incorrect. This interrupted question will be reread to the yellow team without interruption. Question. John chapter 1 verse 6 refers to a man sent from whom, whose what was what?
Yellow 1.
There was a man sent from God whose name was John.
That is correct. Question number 14 is a 30-point question. Question. Locate this verse. Then Jesus.
Red 1. Interruption.
Then Jesus turned and saw them following, and saith unto them, What seek ye? They saith unto him, Rabbi, which is to say, being interpreted, Master, where dwellest thou? John chapter 1, verse 38.
Time.
That is incorrect. This interrupted question will be reread to the yellow team without interruption. Question. Locate this verse. Then Jesus turned and saw them following, and saith unto them, What seek ye? They said unto him, Rabbi, which is to say, being interpreted, Master, where dwellest thou?
Yellow 3.
John 1:38.
That is correct. Contest red 1.
Time.
This contest has been denied. Timeout yellow, 60 seconds.
Time.
Time in. Question number 15 is a cross-reference question worth 30 points question. Matthew chapter 2 verses 5 and 6 record, they said unto him what?
Yellow, 3.
And Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it is written by the prophet, Now Bethlehem in the land of Judah art not the least among the princes of Judah. For out of thee shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel.
Time.
That is incorrect. This quiz is closed. You may relax.
On the last one?
On her last verse. Okay. I'm like, because I was looking at, I'm like, she didn't have to say that, because she skipped that part. I'm like, at the first verse, and I'm like, she didn't technically need it. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Better quizzes than I have.
Good job.
Yeah, I have none of I would run to the bathroom, but I don't know the brackets. I didn't hear that. Like, I guess I didn't catch it. Yeah. She was talking really fast.
They didn't say what.
heard it. I like to
No, I
listen
didn't
to
say
it.
I heard it. I said I didn't catch that she didn't say it.
I didn't think I heard you Nicole, but I was like, she makes it.
Can't reopen the quiz.
We were. Jackie was like, oh, I didn't notice anything was wrong. She didn't say anything.
Well, like when I was following along, I caught every word. Is what I was saying.
Well, then you say you need to listen to it. Like, if you really thought that, it was like, oh, I
No, but
didn't.
I wasn't. You guys were like very confident. Like, you didn't say it, so I was like, oh, I wasn't.
Did you say anything she didn't say?
I didn't think you said either.
You did?
No.
Yeah.
I completely missed it. And so I'm like, oh, she missed it. I should just. There was no doubt in my mind though.
I was just saying, see, that's the same thing. Typically, one of us had doubts.
Yeah.
We rarely agree on stuff.
I should have said something. You should
tell
I
her.
was wondering why you weren't.
You
listening.
can.
I know.
And you will.
Well, I was like, because I always follow along, and I was like, I don't know why that. And I was wondering why y'all weren't re-listening to it.
Or you should tell her.
I would do a phone call.
For the results of the last quiz, we had 3 people tie for second. We had Leo, Kinsley, and Isabella all with 30 points. And we had Jillian with 50 points. And I just have to make a formal apology. The results of the last question, we did go back. All my judges were agreed that it was incorrect, but we did go back and listen to it, and it was actually correct. And I'm very sorry. There's nothing I can do about it now. The quiz is closed. But we did go back and listen to that, and it was correct. So I'm very sorry to the people involved for that, but I don't know what to do. So.
Well, the thing is they need
And just one more teaching point on that. If you feel like we, as a coach or as a quizzer, if you feel like we didn't listen to it, you saw we didn't listen to it, definitely don't hesitate to contest. Don't hesitate to point of order, because we do miss stuff sometimes. So that would have caught us, and we would have definitely changed our ruling on that. But just for future reference. All right. Let's check.
Yellow, 1.
All right. Quiz number 4 is open. Question number 1 is a 10-point question. John chapter 2, verse 11 states who?
Yellow, 1.
Interruption.
Who believed on him? His disciples?
That is correct. Question number 2 is a 10-point question. John chapter 2, verse 4 records who saith?
Red, 1.
Interruption.
Unto her. Jesus.
That is correct. Question number 3 is a 10-point question. John chapter 1 verse 40 mentions Simon Peter's what?
Yellow, 2.
Brother.
That is correct. Question number 4 is a 10-point question. Matthew chapter 2 verse 6 says, thou who?
Red, 2.
That is correct. Question number 5 is a quotation question worth 10 points. Quote John chapter 1 verse 1.
Yellow, 2.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
That is correct. Question number 6 is a 10-point question. John chapter 4 verse 11 records who saith unto him.
Yellow, 2.
The woman.
That is correct. Question number 7 is a 20-point question. Locate this verse. The same.
Red, 1.
Interruption.
The same came to witness, to bear witness of the light that all men through him might believe. John chapter 1 verse 7.
Time.
That is incorrect. This interrupted question will be reread to the yellow team without interruption. Question. Locate this verse. The same came for a witness to bear witness of the light that all men through him might believe.
Yellow, 2.
John 1:7.
That is correct. Question number 8 is a 2-part question worth 20 points. According to John chapter 1 verse 44.
Yellow, 1.
Interruption.
Who? Was of what? Of who was of Bethsaida? The city of Andrew and Peter?
Time.
That is incorrect. This interrupted question will be reread to the red team without interruption. Question. According to John chapter 1 verse 44, who was of where?
Red, 2.
Philip was of Bethsaida? The city of Andrew and Peter?
That is correct. Contest yellow 2.
Contest withdrawn.
This contest has been withdrawn. Question number 9 is a 20-point question. Luke chapter 2, verse 46 speaks of sitting.
Yellow, 1.
Interruption.
Sitting where? In the midst of the doctors?
That is correct. Question number 10 is a quotation completion question worth 20 points. Then said,
Red, 1.
Interruption.
Then said Mary unto the angel, How shall this be, seeing I know not a man? Luke chapter 2. Luke chapter 1, verse 34.
That is incorrect. This interrupted question will be reread to the yellow team without interruption. Quotation completion question. Then said the Jews.
Yellow, 1.
Then said the Jews, 46 years was this temple in building, and wilt thou rear it up in 3 days?
That is correct.
Time out, please.
Time out red, 60 seconds.
Time.
Time in. Question number 11 is a 2-part question worth 20 points. Matthew chapter 2, verse 5 says it is.
Yellow, 1.
Interruption.
It is what? By whom? It is written by the prophet?
That is correct. Question number 12 is a 20-point question. Matthew chapter 3, verse 1 speaks of preaching.
Yellow, 1.
Interruption.
Where? In the wilderness of Judea?
That is correct. Question number 13.
Please.
Time out, yellow, 60 seconds. Time in. Question number 13 is a 2-part cross-reference question worth 30 points. Matthew chapter 2, verse 10 speaks of exceeding what? And Matthew chapter 4, verse 8 mentions exceeding what?
Red, 2.
Exceedingly great joy. Exceeding high mountain.
That is correct. Question number 14 is a three-part question worth 30 points question. Luke chapter 2 verse 12 says, "Ye shall find what? Wrapped in what? Lying in what?"
Red 2.
You shall find a babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger.
That is correct. Question number 15 is a quotation question worth 30 points question. Quote Matthew chapter 3 verse 9.
Red 1.
Nicodemus answered and said unto him, How can these things be?
That is incorrect. This quiz is closed. You may relax.
I usually score too. It's all mine.
That was my last
This is his first quiz. She has been. Oh, she has. Oh, okay. For some reason. Oh, was it?
Not good? It's hard to receive.
It's your fault.
But you know what? Okay, so what was the thing with the question?
All you said was,
What was with the question that you ruled wrong in the question? I didn't. The one that Billy said there was a question that you went back after the fact and like after the quiz and ruled correct.
you really thought that.
No, but I thought I heard it, but I was like, I must not heard it. Like I must not.
Well, if I would have known it was coming out of that question, you would have. Yeah, so 2 questions.
No, but you would not instantly.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I'm really sorry about that, guys.
Well, Leo came up here, but
You are. Yep. You can still come through. You guys are really good. I'm serious. You guys are. What? This one? Yeah.
no, like
Oh.
ours. The one that we chose. Was it locked?
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't long.
Can I just say something? Because I don't want to have a bad attitude. We appreciate all that you guys are doing. I cannot sit up here. I told the kids, I'm like, sometimes stuff happens, but I also told them it's a good learning point for them too to be aware at the quiz board as a quizzers. We could have done a test or we could have maybe done something,
Yeah.
but we appreciate what you guys
Feel
are
free
doing.
to call me out, you know. But
How would you even?
you can point of order. If it was incorrect, you can stand up and say point of order.
Point of order, you gonna listen to it?
Point of order, could you listen to that? I think it might have been incorrect.
Okay, see, that would be hard for me to do too. Because
Or just say, hey, could we get a listening on that? You know?
okay.
But
Okay.
honestly, if you get a question wrong, and you know that it was gonna like come down to the last question, we would contest every single one. If we had a contest left and it came down to that question and we got it wrong, we would just contest. Just to make them
Throw one out there, see what could happen.
Because they do make mistakes sometimes, and we would just be like contest. And if my mom had anything, she'd be like, yeah, you could bring this up.
Especially, yeah. Were you saying when it's close at the end?
When it's close
Yeah,
at the end
just
like that?
Throw anything at the
You
wall.
know, I'm also non-confrontational, so I'm like,
You
oh,
are.
this is wrong. I am. Listen, I am actually. When important stuff, it matters, but otherwise, I'll just kind of shoot my mouth off. So yeah, okay.
But yeah, feel free to contest.
We appreciate
even
what you
if
guys
you don't
are doing.
notice anything.
Because here's the thing on a so like that last question, if you would have contested in something that we would go back and listen, we would have caught it.
Okay.
Even if you said, you know, I think, you know, I said E and not or whatever, and we went back, we would listen to the whole thing.
Okay.
You know.
Alright, can't the first chair quiz out? Or time out?
Yeah.
If they're given that authority by their coach.
Yeah, don't be blowing time off. Thanks, guys.
That's cool.
Oh yeah. Okay, so we've done
This is coming up. After said no. And I kind of originally, but like I didn't think about it. When she brought it up, I was like, oh yeah. So she brought it up.
All right, for the results of the last quiz, we had. Wait, Charles. Charles with 80 points, and Jillian with 90 points.
So, you don't have to write all this stuff.
All right. Can we get Dickinson 1 on the red and Bismarck 1 on the yellow?
It should have been. Were you not here for the? I was. But you said it. Yeah, but I had my eyes closed. So they didn't hear Bethlehem. But then when we listened, she actually listened. But it was really quiet. No, listen to me. I didn't see it though. For that question, I didn't hear either way.
Well, if you have a concern, you speak it to them.
Oh, Matt, your computer's not.
Now what?
Something like it's like 20 minutes.
My cord bag is right there. Hey, Eric. In between questions. Hey.
Yeah.
In between questions, take like a half second and just flash your eyes over to our side just to make sure if we don't stop it, especially for Jack.
A lot of times I do, except for on 10 pointers.
Yeah.
Well, 10 players aren't usually.
Well, you guys realize until I say question twice, anything else, so you yell at me. Yeah, like I can say, question number 12 is a 10-point question.
He got shot.
So just come back this way. It's opposite of what you think.
All right, let's check.
Yellow, 3.
All right, one more time.
Red, 2.
All right. Quiz number 5 is open. Question number 1 is a 10-point question. He must needs to go through where?
Yellow, 1.
Interruption.
As recorded in John chapter 4, verse 4. Where? Samaria?
Time.
That is correct. Contest red 1.
Time.
This contest has been denied. Question number 2 is a 10-point question. Locate this verse. To be taxed.
Red 1.
Interruption.
To be taxed with Mary and his espoused wife being great with child. Luke chapter 2 verse 5.
That is correct. Contest yellow 3. This contest has been withdrawn. Question number 3 is a 10-point question. What shineth in darkness according to John chapter 1 verse 5?
Yellow, 1.
The light.
That is correct. Question number 4 is a 10-point question. John chapter 1 verse 12 says, gave he what?
Yellow, 3.
Gave ye power.
That is correct. Question number 5 is a 10-point question. John chapter 2 verse 13 mentions whose Passover?
Red, 2.
Time.
That is incorrect. Question number 6 is a 10-point question. John chapter 1 verse 7 says came for what?
Yellow, 1.
A witness.
That is correct. Question number 7 is a 20-point question. According to John chapter 1 verse 48, Nathanael saith unto him what?
Red, 1.
Draw out now, and bear unto the governor of the feast.
That is incorrect. Question number 8 is a 2-part question worth 20 points. Matthew chapter 3 verse 2 states the kingdom of what is at what?
Red, 2.
The kingdom of heaven is at hand.
That is correct. Question number 9 is a 20-point question. Locate this verse. After this,
Yellow, 3.
Interruption.
Came Jesus and his disciples into the land of Judea, and there he tarried with them and baptized.
that is incorrect. This interrupted question will be reread to the yellow team without interruption. To the red team without interruption. Question. Locate this verse. After this, he went down to Capernaum, he and his mother and his brethren and his disciples, and they continued there not many days.
Time.
Question number 10 is a 20-point question. Who does Luke chapter 2 verse 43 say knew not of it?
Red, 1.
Joseph. and his mother.
That is correct. Question number 11 is a quotation completion question worth 20 points question. Then Herod.
Red 1.
Interruption.
Then Herod, when he had privily called the wise men, inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared.
That is correct.
Timeout, please.
Timeout yellow, 60 seconds.
Time.
Time it. Question number 12 is a two-part question worth 20 points question. John chapter 3 verse 1 refers to a man of what?
Yellow 3.
Interruption.
Named what? There was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus.
That is correct. Contest red 1. This contest has been withdrawn. Question number 13 is a 30-point question. Locate this verse. Then say.
Red 1.
Interruption.
Then saith Jesus unto him, Get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, Thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve.
That is incorrect. This interrupted question will be reread to the yellow team without interruption. Question. Locate this verse. Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, How is it that thou, being a Jew, askest drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans.
Yellow 3.
John 4:9.
That is correct. Question number 14 is a three-part question worth 30 points question. Who, according to Luke chapter 1, verse 26, was sent from whom unto where?
Yellow 3.
And in the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent from God into a city of Galilee named Nazareth.
That is correct.
Time out, please.
Timeout yellow, 60 seconds.
it.
Time.
Time in. Question number 15 is a two-part cross-reference question worth 30 points question. Which verse of Luke says, shalt call his name Jesus? And which verse of Matthew says, shalt call his name Jesus?
Red, 1.
Time.
That is incorrect. This quiz is closed. You may relax.
How many quizzes do you have left?
Hours, yeah. 3, 4, 6, 7, 8.
Oh, then we'll have, we're just only on it. So we're gonna
We had a
start
lot of,
intermediate?
we would take a break.
Are we
Yeah,
gonna,
we took like a 25 minute.
so we're gonna start intermediate right after lunch?
For the results of the last quiz, we had Kinsley with 30 points and Isabella with 80 points.
Mom, should we break?
If they're ready, I would.
Should just call lunch now?
I think so, it's noon.
Wait, what? I'm sorry. Where are we at in the bracket? We're breaking. Good job. You're welcome. Is the food ready?
I'd like, I don't know. It is? Okay. I'd like to do the beginner awards right away, after lunch.
I heard that.
Because like they had to leave last time. I mean, I don't know what the dynamics are this time,
We had to leave last time.
That's fine, because he can get set up in the basement.
or in the other session. It's already
the other
set up.
session.
Yeah. Uncle Ben just brought a whole new sound system for us. It wasn't working, it kept cutting out. Yeah.
Even yours? Your mic?
No, not mine. Mine was fine. But the two, they couldn't.
So they set up a whole new sound system?
Well, they used your speaker, but he brought a whole new.
Oh, board?
Yep, and then new microphones that were already connected to his board, and then just so we'll have to figure it out later. But it worked great. So we'll be good for seniors.
Did you hear what happened?
No. Oh yeah.
Came down to the last
So
question.
Mackenzie had a good point though. So technically in the rules, the judges are never supposed to give the reasons why they didn't. Because she said technically that should have been caught by physics and they should have protested.
Right.
So she was like, it's kind of almost like it would have almost been better for nobody to know that you made these errors. But I told her, I said, the way that we look at it, especially these first quizzes, is we're doing nationals prep, and we didn't want the kids to know that like, you think it was wrong when it wasn't. But going
And so I felt so bad because she had two situations that were like that.
Who was it?
They didn't have it. It was really quiet. And she so we couldn't do that.
Well then, but you should have told her.
I did tell her.
Oh.
After that, but she and I told her too to contest it. If,
Yeah.
If she got it.
Yeah. So we're done.
Because she got it wrong. We found it correct. And we had done a full question on it. And someone came back, Jackie came back to her and said, I think that one with Isabella is right.
And, or,
Well, no, maybe it came down.
No, I'm saying the first time. It happened twice in the same day.
No.
Yeah.
So we had a voting replace?
No, we should have counted it correct.
Oh, the one that.
Oh, because I misread it. That's right.
No
I
one,
misread
but
it.
they didn't know.
They didn't answer. That's right.
Oh.
And so it wasn't. It had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
But she at first.
I don't think it was.
Well, I gotta make an announcement.
Yeah.
All right, so lunch is ready, so we're going to take a quick break for lunch. And after lunch, we're going to do the beginners awards, so the beginners can get on the road if they need to go. And so
We're gonna do them in here.
we're going to do all the awards in here after lunch.
Do you have medals?
so you guys are wanting to do seniors? You're wanting to do seniors?
I like it. I mean, I've never been scored on this. We have at least 4 quizzes left. I don't hate it. Yeah, I mess up. So I was. So I think. I mean, that would be up to Jackie. Jackie's just perfect for me. You know.
And then again, it's kind of nice. I mean, I compare
That's
down
why.
in here when you guys are quizzing, set up for awards. So as soon as you guys are done, we can do awards.
So funny.
At the board.
You want to see the picture?
I thought it worked good last time.
I mean, it is a bummer because it is nice to be in here.
What old man had to be in the
Or in the bad room or something, and I was like, it's the best room.
It is true.
They always way less intimidating. Like
Yeah.
you have way less people there.
That's true.
And she was like, yeah, but they're all staring at me. I was like, well, then
They're
you have
gonna
more
stare.
people staring at you.
Actually, we had way less in here than you guys had in beginners.
Oh.
Beginners.
Sister Michaela said, yeah.
What?
Shayla's graduation party is on that day, May 17th.
Oh no.
We should just.
And my church has a revival service Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday week.
I thought your church was the one who approved it.
Did you say to
cancel
skip
the May?
Or do the first weekend of May as final weekend.
Finals
have to be-
Finals has to be after the 24th.
Wait, when is finals?
Either after I have to check.
Finals in June?
Those two quizzes are just terrible.
Is your June quiz meet in the
I don't
beginning
care.
of the month?
We'll just have to keep it original.
I have an idea. Is it in Bismarck or is it in Dickinson? Let's have it in Bismarck. And let's do intermediate Friday night.
And have it in the morning before.
And then have the quizzing, the juniors in the morning before the graduation party.
If they can't quiz because the graduation party is tomorrow.
But then all the if it was there, and then everybody would be there anyway.
So we're just keeping it on the 17th?
So, okay.
That's
so
what
the
we could do it Friday
the
night
thing
for
is-
intermediate.
The thing is then that means we either have to switch from April to. We can't switch April.
Wait, why?
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. It's not that deep.
Bismarck's like,
Bismarck Central. It's not like we moved it to Fargo. Yeah.
I just hate asking to do it. I mean,
they haven't seen it.
That is true. So do we just do the 17th or the 16th and 17th? Just talk.
I'll announce it at.
Well,
And it would only be intermediate, and Bismarck's so close, Dickinson, they could go quiz and come home if they weren't going.
I'll talk to the Pulse because I've asked about promotions.
Oh, yeah.
I will start the quizzes earlier. Started at 8.
Yeah. No, have like, instead of having devotions at 9:30, have devotions at 8:30 or 9.
Or
And
skip,
8:30
or just skip
starting quizzing at
devotions
9 is better.
and just starting quizzing at 9.
Yeah, right
Yeah,
away. Instead of
quiz
10.
at 9.
We didn't start quizzing until like 10:15.
Oh, but
Because
you were gonna have him.
he's gonna be
No, devotions.
Brother Shane's gonna be busy with the graduation and stuff. So
They might not
We just won't
come
have
to the quizzes.
devotions. And it's not the final quiz.
So we do.
Friday night,
Okay,
have
so we do.
intermediate.
So the 17th or the 16th we do quizzing on the 16th.
for intermediate.
And we honestly, the thing is because it's just Dickinson, we could do it at like 8 o'clock. We wouldn't have to do it at 7.
No.
We could do it at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
That gives everybody a little more time.
To get there. Yep.
We're
And
sta-
they're,
we're
and
gonna-
they're teenagers.
We're
gonna be
gonna
up in
we're
the-
gonna stay up late anyways.
Yeah.
And they could even go home Saturday.
If
Or
they-
Friday night after they
Friday
were
night,
done,
yeah.
because they gained that hour going home. And
Right,
if they weren't
so
coming to
you-
the graduation.
Because Fargo is going to be there. Like, yeah.
Junior, beginner,
junior,
concurrent.
junior beginner concurrent on Friday or
The only
Saturday.
bummer is the main reason we changed it was for graduation.
Very possible.
No, well, and Great Plains.
And Great
Possibly
Plains.
when you-
But
The
like,
thing is-
and I know some people.
But I didn't realize, like, Vivian told me that it was a graduation, so she was like, we prefer 24th and 17th. Yeah. Well, then Sheila was just like, well, what's going to be there? I mean, most from you guys would want to be there.
I mean, I haven't been invited, but we will be.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
And I'll
you know,
feel
if I would have known, we would have came.
Speaking of which, I think we're gonna do my birthday party at a bowling alley on the
In April. Yeah.
in April.
25th.
How do you?
That's May.
On the 24th.
Okay,
25th.
I'll talk to you about the policy point.
25th, because our symphony is 26th.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I said 25th first.
I'll talk about policy.
Really?
Oh dear.
So complicated.